I don't I don't give a hoot. I don't give a damn hoot about who's here or who is not here. If you're here, you're here. If you're not here, you're not here. Chapter 5, The Laboratory of the Body. This is chapter 5 of Hatha Yoga, or the Yogi philosophy of physical well-being. This little book is not intended for a textbook upon physiology. But inasmuch as the majority of people seem to have little or no idea of the nature, functions and uses of the various bodily organs, we think it as well to say a few words regarding the very important organs of the body, which have to do with the digestion and assimilation of the food which nourishes the body, which perform the laboratory work of the system. The first bit of the human machinery of digestion to be considered by us are the teeth. Nature has provided us with teeth to bite our food and grind it into tiny bits, thus rendering it of a convenient size and consistency to be easily acted upon by the saliva and the digestive juices of the stomach, after which it is reduced to a liquid form, that its nourishing qualities may be easily assimilated and absorbed by the body. This seems to be merely a repetition of an oft-told tale, but how many of our readers really act as if they knew for what purpose their teeth had been given them? They bolt their food just as if teeth were merely for show, and generally act as if nature had provided them with a gizzard, by the aid of which they could, like the fowl, grind up and break into small bits the food that they had bolted. Remember, friends, that your teeth were given you for a purpose, and also consider the fact that if nature had intended you to bolt your food, she would have provided you with a gizzard instead of with teeth. We will have much to say about the proper use of the teeth as we go along, as it has a very close connection with a vital principle of Hatha Yoga, as you will see after a while. The next organs to be considered are the salivatory glands. These glands are 6 in number, of which 4 are located under the tongue and jaw, and 2 in the cheeks in the front of the ears, 1 on each side. Their best known function is to manufacture, generate, or secrete saliva, which, when needed, flows out through numerous ducts in different parts of the mouth and mixes with the food, which is being chewed. The food being chewed into small particles, the saliva is able to more thoroughly reach all portions of it with a correspondingly increased effort. The saliva moistens the food, thus allowing it to be more easily swallowed. This function, however, being a mere incident to its more important ones. Its best known function, and the one which Western science teaches is its most important one, is its chemical offices, which convert the starchy food matter into sugar, thus performing the first step in the process of digestion. Here is another oft-told tale. You all know about the saliva, but how many of you eat in a manner which allows nature to put the saliva to work as she had designed? You bolt your food after a few perfunctory chews and defeat nature's plans, toward which she has gone to so much trouble, and to perform which she has built such beautiful and delicate machinery. But nature manages to get back at you for your contempt and disregard of her plans. Nature has a good memory and always makes you pay your debts. We must not forget to mention the tongue, that faithful friend who is so often made to perform the ignoble task of assisting in the utterance of angry words, retailing of gossip, lying, nagging, swearing, and last but not least, complaining. The tongue has a most important work to perform in the process of nourishing the body with food, because a number of mechanical movements which it performs in eating, in which it helps to move the food along its similar service in the act of swallowing. It is the organ of taste and passes critical judgment upon the food which asks admittance to the stomach. You have neglected the normal uses of the teeth, the saliva, Jesus, salivary, Jesus. You have neglected the normal uses of the teeth, the salivary glands, and the tongue, and they have Okay. You have neglected the normal uses of the teeth, the salivary glands, and the tongue, and they have consequently failed to give you the best service. But if you trust them and return to sane and normal methods of eating, you will find them gladly and cheerfully responding to your trust and will once more give you their full share of service. They are good friends and servants, but need a little confidence, trust, and responsibility to bring out their best points. After the food has been chewed or masticated, and then saturated with saliva, it passes down the throat into the stomach. The lower part of the throat, which is called the gullet, performs a particular muscular contraction which pushes downward the particles of food, which act forms a part of the process of swallowing. The process of converting the starchy portion of the food into sugar or glucose, which is begun by the saliva in the mouth, is continued as the food passes into and down into the gullet, but nearly or entirely ceases when the food once reaches the stomach, which fact must be considered when one studies the subject of the advantage of a deliberate habit of eating, as if the food is hastily chewed and swallowed, it reaches the stomach only partially affected by the saliva, and in an imperfect condition for nature's subsequent work. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to be chewing my food much more thoroughly. The stomach itself is a pear-shaped bag. Earth is a stomach. Earth is a stomach. It's stomach Earth. It's stomach Earth. The stomach itself is a pear-shaped bag with a capacity of about 1 quart or more in some cases. The food enters the stomach from the gullet on the upper left-hand side, just below the heart. The food afterwards leaves the stomach on the lower right hand and enters the small intestine by means of a particular sort of valve, which is so wonderfully constructed that it allows the matter from the stomach to pass easily through it, but refuses to allow anything to work back from the intestine into the stomach. This valve is known as the pyloric valve, or the pyloric orifice. The word pyloric being derived from the Greek word which means gatekeeper. And indeed, this little valve acts as a most intelligent gatekeeper, always on the watch, never asleep. Fucking pyloric gatekeepers, goddammit. The stomach. I'm gonna take a sip of some coffee real quick. Check out the chat room. What's up, 7 viewers? Are you enjoying this? So let's see here. What's up, Dan W? What's up, Madame Medusa? What's up, Giant wearing a regular size people costume? Tesla's Apple, Good Times for All, Madame Medusa, Dan W, Frog in the Gullet, Give up on food, Good Times for All. Let's see here. The stomach is a great chemical laboratory in which the food undergoes chemical changes which allow it to be taken up by the system and changed into a nourishing material which is covered into rich, red blood which courses all over the body, building up, repairing, strengthening, and adding to all the parts and organs. The quote-unquote inside of the stomach is covered with a lining of delicate mucous membrane, which is filled with minute glands, all of which open into the stomach and around which is a very fine network of minute blood vessels with remarkably thin walls, from which is manufactured or secreted that wonderful fluid, the gastric juice. The gastric juice is a powerful liquid acting as a solvent upon what is called the nitrogenous portions of the food. It also acts upon the sugar or glucose which has been manufactured from the starchy food by the saliva, as above described. It is a bitter sort of liquid containing a chemical product called pepsin, which is its active agent and which plays a most important part in the digestion of the food. Praise Bob. Praise Bob. Stomach Earth, Stomach Earth. In a normal healthy person, the stomach manufactures or secretes about 1 gallon of gastric juice in 24 hours and uses same in the process of digestion of the food. When the food reaches the stomach of little glands, before mentioned, pour out a sufficient supply of the gastric juice, which mixes up with the mass of food in the stomach. Then the stomach sets up sort of a churning motion, which moves the pulpy food round and round, from end to end, from side to side, twisting and turning it, churning and kneading it, until the gastric juice penetrates every part of the mass and is well mixed up into it. The instinctive mind does some wonderful work in the stomach movements and works like a well-oiled machine. And if the stomach has been treated to properly prepared, well chewed food, properly insalivated, the machine is able to turn out a fine job. But if, as so often happens, the food is of a quality not fit for the human stomach, or if it has been but half chewed or bolted, or if the stomach has been stuffed by a gluttonous owner, then there is going to be trouble. In such a case, instead of the normal process of digestion being performed, the stomach is unable to do its work, and fermentation results. And the stomach becomes the holder of a fermenting, putrefying, rotting mass, and yeast pot, which has been called under such circumstances. If people could but form an idea of what a cesspool they maintain in their stomachs, they would cease to shrug their shoulders and look bored whenever the subject of rational and sane habits of eating are mentioned. This putrefying ferment, arising from abnormal habits of eating, often becomes chronic and results in a condition which manifests itself in the symptoms of what is called dyspepsia, dyspepsia, or similar troubles. It remains in the stomach for a long time after the meal, and then when the next meal reaches the stomach, the fermentation continues until the stomach actually becomes a perpetually active yeast pot. This condition, of course, results in an impairment of the normal functioning of the stomach, the surface of which becomes slimy, soft, thin, and weak. The glands become clogged, and the whole digestive apparatus of the stomach becomes impaired and broken down. In such an event, the half-digested food passes out into the small intestine, tainted with the acids arising from the fermentation, and the result is that the whole system becomes gradually poisoned and imperfectly nourished. The food mass, saturated with the gastric juice which has been poured upon it and kneaded and churned into it, leaves the stomach by the pyloric orifice on the lower right-hand side of the stomach and enters the small intestine. The small intestine is a tube-like canal ingeniously coiled upon itself so as to occupy but a comparatively small space, but which is really from 20 to 30 feet in length. Its inner walls are lined with a velvety substance, and through the greater part of its length, this velvety lining is arranged in transverse shelf-like folds, which maintain a sort of winking motion, swaying backward and forward in the intestinal fluids, retarding the passage of the food and providing an increased surface for secretion and absorption. The velvety condition of this mucous lining is caused by numerous minute elevations, something like the surface of a piece of plush, which are known as the intestinal villi, the, the office of which will be explained a little further on. Nice, good times, sir. I do remove the peel on the sipper thing. I'm just going to take a sip of some coffee real quick. Give me a second. Taking a sip of some coffee. As soon as the food mass enters the small intestine, it is met with a particular fluid called the bile, which saturates it and is thoroughly mixed up in it. The bile is a secretion of the liver and is stored up ready for use in a strong bag, known as the gallbladder. About 2 quarts of bile per day is used in saturating the food as it passes into the small intestine. Its purpose is to assist the pancreatic juice in preparing the fatty parts of the food for absorption, and also to aid in the prevention of decomposition and putrefaction of the food as it passes through the small intestine, and the neutralization of the gastric juice, which has already performed its work. The pancreatic juice is secreted by the pancreas, an elongated organ situated just behind the stomach, and its purpose is to act upon the fatty portions of the food and to render them possible of absorption from the intestines along with the other parts of the food nourishment. About 1.5 pints is used daily in this work. The hundreds of thousands of plush-like hairs upon the velvety lining of the small intestine, which are also known as villi, maintain a constant waving motion, passing through and in the soft, semi-liquid food which is passing through the small intestine. They are constantly in motion, licking up and absorbing the nourishment that is contained in the food mass and transmitting it to the system. The several steps whereby the food is converted into blood and is carried to all parts of the system are as follows: mastication, insalivation, deglutition, stomach and intestinal digestion, absorption, circulation, and assimilation. Let us run over them again hastily that we may not forget them. Mastication is performed by the teeth, which is the chewing process. The lips, tongue, and cheeks assisting in the work. It breaks up the food into small particles and enables the saliva to reach it more thoroughly. Insalivation is the process of saturating the masticated food with the saliva, which pours into it from the salivatory glands. The saliva acts upon the cooked starch in the food, changing it into dextrin and then into glucose, thus rendering it soluble. This chemical change is rendered possible by the action of the ptyalin in the saliva, acting as a ferment and changing the chemical constitution of those substances for which it has an affinity. Digestion is performed in the stomach and small intestines and consists of the conversion of the food mass into products capable of being absorbed and assimilated. Digestion begins when the food reaches the stomach. The gastric juice then pours out copiously, and becoming mixed up with and churning into the food mass, it dissolves the connective tissue of meat, releases fat from its envelopes by breaking them up, and transforms some of the materials, such as lean meat, the gluten of wheat and white of eggs, into albumose, in which form they are capable of being absorbed and assimilated. The transformation occasioned by stomach digestion is accomplished by the chemical action of an organic ingredient of the gastric juice called pepsin in connection with the acid ingredients of the gastric juice. While the process of digestion is being performed by the stomach, the fluid portion of the food mass, both that which has entered the stomach as fluids which have been drunken, as well as the fluids liberated from the solid food in the process of digestion, is rapidly taken up by the absorptions of the stomach and is carried to the blood, while the more solid portions of the food mass are churned up by the muscular action of the stomach, as we have stated. In about a half hour, the solid portions of the food mass will begin slowly to leave the stomach in the form of a grayish pasty substance called chyme, which is a mixture of some of the sugar and salts of the food, of transformed starch or glucose, of softened starch, of broken fat and connective tissue, and of albumose. The chyme, leaving the stomach, enters the small intestine, as we have described, and comes in contact with the pancreatic and intestinal juices, and with the bile, and intestinal digestion ensues. These fluids dissolve most of the food that has not already been softened. Intestinal digestion resolves the chyme into three substances known as peptone, from the digestion known as peptone, chyle, and glucose. These substances are, to a large extent, carried into the blood and become a part of it, while the undigested food passes out of the small intestine through a trap-like valve into the large bowel called the colon, of which we shall speak by and by. Absorption, by which name is known the process by which the above named products. What the fuck? This is seriously what it says. It says absorption, by which name is known the process by which the above named products of the food, resulting from the digestive process, are taken up by the veins and lacteals, is affected by endosmosis. The water and the fluids liberated from the food mass by the stomach digestion are rapidly absorbed and carried away by the blood in port, a portal vein in the liver. A portal vein to the liver. What the fuck? The water and the fluids liberated from the food mass by the stomach digestion are rapidly absorbed and carried away by the blood in the portal vein to the liver. The peptone and glucose from the small intestine also reaches the portal vein to the liver through the blood vessels of the intestinal villi, which we have described. This blood reaches the heart after passing through the liver, where it undergoes a process which we will speak of when we reach the subject of the liver. The chyle, which is the remaining product of the food mass in the intestines after the peptone and glucose have been taken up and carried to the liver, is taken up and passes through the lacteals into the thoracic duct and is gradually conveyed to the blood, as will be further described in our chapter on the circulation. Yama. In our chapter on the circulation, we will explain how the blood carries the nurturement derived from the digested food to all the parts of the body, giving each tissue, cell, organ, and part the material which it builds up and repairs itself, thus enabling the body to grow and develop. The liver secretes the bile, which is carried to the small intestine, as we have stated. It also stores up a substance called glycogen, which is formed in the liver from the digested materials brought to it by the portal vein. Glycogen is stored up in the liver and is afterwards gradually transformed in the intervals of digestion into glucose or a substance similar to grape sugar. The pancreas secretes the pancreatic juices, which it pours into the small intestine to aid in intestinal digestion, where it acts chiefly upon the fatty portions of the food. The kidneys are located in the loins, behind the intestines. They are 2 in number and shaped like beans. They purify the blood by removing from it a poisonous substance called urea, and other waste products. The fluid secreted by the kidneys is carried by 2 tubes called ureters to the bladder. The bladder is located in the pelvis and serves as a reservoir for the urine, which consists of waste fluids carrying with it refuse matter of the system. Before leaving this part of the subject, we wish to call the attention of our readers to the fact that when the food enters the stomach and small intestines improperly mas- masticated and let me read this one more time. Before leaving this part of the subject, we wish to call the attention of our readers to the fact that when the food enters the stomach and small intestines improperly masca- masticate, masticated, fuck me, and insalivated, when the teeth and salivary glands have not been given a chance to do their work properly, digestion is interfered with and impeded. Im- impeded. Jesus fucking Christ. And the digestive organs are overworked and rendered unable to accomplish what is asked of them. It is like asking one set of workmen to do their own work in addition to the work which should have been previously performed by another set of men. It is asking the railroad engineer to perform the duties of the fireman as well as his own, to keep the fire going, uh, to keep the fire going on an upgrade and run the locomotive on a dangerous bit of road at the same time. The absorbance of the stomach and intestines must absorb something. That is their business. And if you do not give them the proper materials, they will absorb the fermenting and putrefying mass in the stomach and pass it along to the blood. The blood carries this poor material to all parts of the body, including the brain. And it is no wonder that people complain of bilelessness, headache, etc., when they are being self poisoned in this way. Chapter 6. Hold on, I gotta take another sip of some coffee. Need a pipe. Be right back. Chapter 6. That was chapter 5. This is chapter 6. Chapter 6 is called The Life Fluid. The Life Fluid. Let me take a pipe rip real quick, and I'll read this last chapter, chapter 6, and then I'll shut this off. I got 2 dislikes. It's like, aw, you don't like me reading a hatha yoga book? You think I suck? Well, how about you suck my dick? Suck my balls. You fucking globehead bitch. Go fuck yourself. Your brain is poisoned. You're a fucking poison-brained idiot. It's like from 1900. What's up, Darren? I'm gonna pop on some 3-Pac real quick while I wait.
What's good, son? I've been seeing the plan, son. Straight up. I've been in getting flapjack squad through funk beat out that horse shit, son. I'm fucking big boss today, son. I'm beating your mama's cheek, son. I ain't get fucked by that whack ass shit, son. Straight up. It's shit, they shot, yeah. See, talk shit, shit, shot, yeah. Ain't shit they can say, that shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. Ain't shit they can say, that shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. See a lot of haters out in that shit, but I don't give a hoot, so I give what I see. I came up from the bottom, I did it on my own. I did it not straight, I'm straight from my own. Fucking up the gangs, and that's the brain. I be your last nigga, so I don't got shit. Got the nigga from the best of me, I'm free. I got my third eye open, something I get in the kid. Two for down in the state, eating all that cheese. You know I get that shit and then I get it with DT. Don't even gotta stay, cause I get it through the days. It is love, with the chicks, with the red shit they can say, and shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. Ain't shit they can say, and shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero room. Finish line side, son. I'm gon' get it. That's the way, son. We rock the win. Real ass nigga big came up. Never give a fuck a who, and I never need love, son. I grind hard, son, like every day. Hometown hero, son, up the back. Hustling every day, gotta keep my brain. Can't forget the cheddar, you heard what I said. I've been seeing the paper from the channel. And my phone red, smoking on my skull. Rich ass nigga, boy, I'm a mom. The type to call me the mom. And you know I'm going in.
Yeah. Ain't shit they could say, ain't shit they could do. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. Ain't shit they could say, shit they could do.
I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero roots. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero roots. I'ma keep on hustling and giving zero roots. Ain't shit they can do. I'm ain't shit they can say.
Ain't shit they can do. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. And that was, you were just listening to the legendary trap god himself, known as 3-Pac. I will continue to read chapter 6 of the HATHA yoga book. This next chapter is called The Life Fluid. I'm going to take one more rip of this delicious green herb that God gifted me with, and then I will continue to read. Oh, okay. Chapter 6. The Life Fluid. In our last chapter, we gave you an idea of how the food we eat is gradually transformed and resolved into substances capable of being absorbed and taken up by the blood, which carries the nourishment to all parts of the system, where it is used in building up, repairing, and renewing the several parts of the physical man. In this chapter, we will give you a brief description of how this work of the blood is carried on. The nutritive portions of the digested food is taken up by the circulation and becomes blood. The blood flows through the arteries to every cell and tissue of the body, that it may perform its constructive and recuperative work. It then returns through the arteries, carrying with it the broken down cells and other waste matter of the system, that the waste may be expelled from the system by the lungs and other organs performing the casting out work of the system. This flow of the blood to and from the heart is called the circulation. The engine which drives this wonderful system of physical machinery is, of course, the heart. We will not take up your time describing the heart, but we will instead tell you something of the work performed by it. Let us begin at the point at which we left off in our last chapter, the point at which the nourishment of the food, taken up by the blood which assimilates it, reaches the heart, which sends it out on its errand of nourishing the body. The blood starts on its journey through the arteries, which are a series of elastic canals, having divisions and subdivisions, beginning with the main canals, which feed the smaller ones, which in turn feed still smaller ones until the capillaries are reached. The capillaries are very small blood vessels measuring about 1/3000th of an inch in diameter. They resemble very fine hairs, which resemblance gives them their name. The capillaries penetrate the tissues in meshes of network, bringing the blood in close contact with all the parts. Their walls are very thin, and the nutritious ingredients of the blood exude through their walls and are taken up by the tissues. The capillaries not only exude the nourishment from the blood, but they also take the blood on its return journey, as we will see presently, and generally fetch and carry for the system, including the absorption of the nourishment of the food from the intestinal villi, as described in our last chapter. Go back to the arteries. They carry the rich, red, pure blood from the heart, laden with health-giving nutrition and life, distributing it through large canal into smaller, from smaller into still smaller, until finally the tiny hair-like capillaries are reached and the tissues take up the nourishment and use it for building purposes. The wonderful little cells of the body doing this work most intelligently. We shall have something to say regarding the work of these cells by and by. The blood, having given up a supply of nourishment, begins its return journey to the heart, taking with it the waste products, dead cells, broken down tissue, and other refuse of the system. It starts with the capillaries, but this return journey is not made through the arteries, but by an off-switch arrangement. It is directed into the smaller veinlets of the venous system, the system of veins, from whence it passes into the larger veins and on to the heart. Before it reaches the arteries again, on a new trip, however, something happens to it. It goes to the crematory of the lungs in order to have its waste matter and impurities burned up and cast off. In another chapter, we will tell you about this work of the lungs. Before passing on, however, we must tell you that there exists another fluid which circulates through the system. This is called the lymph, which closely resembles the blood in composition. It contains some of the ingredients of the blood which have exuded from the walls of the blood vessels and some of the waste products of the system, which after being cleansed and made over by the lymphatic system re-enter the blood and are used again. The lymph circulate in thin vein-like canals, so small that they cannot be readily seen by the human eye until they are injected with quicksilver. Eee. These canals empty into several of the large veins, and the lymph then mingles with the returning blood on its way to the heart. The chyle, after leaving the small intestine, mingles with the lymph from the lower parts of the body and gets into the blood in this way, while the other products of the digested food pass through the portal vein and the liver on their journey, so that although they take different routes, they meet again in the circulating blood. So you will see the blood is the constituent of the body which directly or indirectly furnishes nourishment and life to all parts of the body. If the blood is poor or the circulation weak, nutrition of some parts of the body must be impaired, and diseased conditions will result. The blood supplies about 1/10 of man's weight. Of this amount, about 1/4 is distributed in the heart, lungs, large arteries and veins, about 1/4 in the liver, about 1/4 in the muscles, the remaining quarter being distributed among the remaining organs and tissues. The brain utilizes about 1/5 of the entire quantity of blood. Wow. Remember always, in thinking about the blood, that the blood is what you make it by the food you eat and the way you eat it. You can have the very best kind of blood, and plenty of it, by selecting the proper foods and by eating such food as nature intended you to do. Or, on the other hand, you may have very poor blood, and an insufficient quantity of it, by foolish gratification of the abnormal appetite, and by improper eating, not worthy of the name, of any kind of food. The blood is the life, and you make the blood. That is the matter, in a nutshell. Now let us pass on to the crematory of the lungs, and see what is going to happen to that blue, impure, venous blood, which has come back from all parts of the body, laden with impurities and waste matter. Let us have a look at the crematory. And then the next chapter is chapter 7, the crematory of the system. Should I read that? Chapter 7, the crematory of the system. I was only going to read chapters 5 and 6, but I don't know. Let's see how many pages. It's not that long. I don't know. I kind of just want to drink some coffee and relax now that I finished chapters 5 and 6. What do you think? What do you folks up to? What's up, docs? I'm gonna listen to some 3 Pac. Oh shit. Dream of California. She calls out to the man on the street. Sir, can you help me? It's cold and there's nothing to eat. Is there some way you can help me? She She calls out to the man on the street. Sir, can you help me? It's cold and I've nowhere to sleep. Is there somewhere you can tell me? He walks on, doesn't look back. He pretends he can't hear her. Starts to whistle as he crosses the street. Seems embarrassed to be there. Oh, think twice. It's just another day for you and me in paradise. Oh, think twice. 'Cause it's just another day for you and me in paradise. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Just think about it. Dun, 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 dun. She calls out to the man on the street. He can tell she's been crying. She's got blisters on the soles of her feet. She can't walk, but she's trying. Motherfucker, oh, think twice. 'Cause it's another day for you and me in motherfucking paradise. Oh, think twice. It's just another day for you and me in paradise. Dun, 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 dun. Oh Lord, is there nothing more anybody can do? Dude, I used to listen to that song when I was a fucking kid. She can't walk, but she's trying. That song was fucking sick. Any karaoke? Let's do some karaoke. Give me a song suggestion and I'll see if I can do it. The final cut. Through the fisheye lens of tear-stained eyes, I can barely define the shape of this moment in time. And far from flying high in clear blue sky, I'm spiraling down in the hole in the ground where I hide. If you, I don't know this song too well. There's a kid who had a big hallucination. That fucking song's incredible. Fucking love Pink Floyd. It's incredible. Oh my god. Father and Son by Paul Simon. That song was fucking super sad. What song that really touched me as a kid? That Paradise song really fucking struck a chord with me as a kid. And if I show you my dark side, will you still hold me tonight? And if I open my heart to you and show you that's just little Johnny Cash. Little Johnny Cash. Sooner or later. You can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Yeah, sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Go and tell that long-tongued liar. Go and tell that midnight rider. Tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter. Tell him the God's gonna cut him down. Tell him the God's gonna cut him down. Well, my goodness gracious, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dew. I've been down on the bended knee, talking to the man from Galilee. He spoke to me in the voice so sweet, I thought I heard the shuffle of the angel's feet. He called my name and my heart stood still, and when he said, God, John, go and do my will. Oh, go tell that long-tongued liar. Go and tell that midnight rider. Tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter. Tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Thank you. Thank you. What was that one? That shot the fucking. He shot a dude. I don't know. He fucking the rifle. Steady. I got. Oh my way. What was that? Oh my way. I hung my head. I hung my head. That song is fucking ridiculous. Early one morning, with time to kill, I borrowed Jeb's rifle and sat on the hill. I saw a lone rider crossing the plain. I drew a bead on him to practice my aim. My brother's rifle went off in my hand. A shot ran out across the land. The horse he kept running, the rider was dead. I hung my head, I hung my head. I set off running to wake from the dream. My brother's rifle went into the sheen. I kept on running into the Southlands. That's where they found me, my head in my hands. The sheriff, he asked me, why had I run? And then it came to me, just what I had done. All for no reason, just one piece of lead. I hung my head, I hung my head. Fucking legendary song. Yeah, man. On the turning away from the pale and downtrodden, and the words that they say which we won't understand, don't accept what that is happening in just a case of other suffering, or you'll find that you're joining in the turning away. It's a sin that somehow light is changing to shadow and casting its shroud over all we have known, unaware of how the ranks have grown, driven on by a heart of stone. We could find that we're all alone in the dream of the proud. On the wings of the night, doom, 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 as the daytime is stirring, where the speechless unite in a silent accord, using words we will find are strange, and mesmerize as they light the flame. Oh God, Pink Floyd is so inspirational. No more turning away from the weak and the weary. No more turning away from the coldness inside. Just a world that we all must share. It's not enough just to stand and stare. Is it only a dream that will be no more turning away? Uh, Good Times for All says a supposed NASA employee called Ironworks this morning on Truth Frequency Radio saying they should be ashamed for picking on NASA. I called in and gave her a piece of my mind. Felt great. She said she was being cyberbullied. I showed her you had no time for them playing the victim. When you chose to work with the devil, you have to deal with the consequences. Abso-fucking-lutely. They were beyond their time. Abso-fucking-lutely. Take a look from a lot like you. Oh man, take a look in my life, I'm a lot like you. Oh man, look in my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look in my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise, it makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I wanna look at my eyes and you can tell that's true. Lullabies look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past. But I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, look at my eyes and you can tell that's true. No, man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Oh, man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Except I'm 10,000 better. I'm 10 times better than you ever fucking were. I'm not a fucking piece of shit. I'm not a self-destructive wit. I care about the human race. I want to stop the race. The race is an illusion. Fall in line and don't look back. But you gotta break the line. You gotta cross the line and go your own way. Oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. The final cut. Second sun in the sky. Yeah, that was a great one. Let's try some the second sun. Two Suns in the Sunset, it's called, by Pink Floyd. Two Suns in the Sunset. It's a great song. What song shall I sing? What song shall I sing? One of the hardest songs to sing. Chris Cornell. In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows. Hides the face, slides the snake, the sun in my disgrace. Boiling heat, summer stench, 'neath the black the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream and I'll hear you scream again. Dum 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 dum. Black old sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black old sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come? Stuttering, cold and damp. Yeah, right. I'm not. There's no fucking way. This song is absolutely impossible to sing. That motherfucker was one of the greatest songsmen of all time. Easily one of the greatest singers of all time. What was that one song? Audio Slave? Show Me How to Live? I fucking love that song. Show Me How to Live. 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 That song is just fucking incredible. And the early dawn. And with the early dawn moving right along, I couldn't buy an eyeful of sleep. And in the aching under night satellites, I was not received, built with stolen parts. A telephone in my heart, someone get me a priest to put my mind to bed. This ringing in my head. Is this a cure? Is this a cure? Is this a disease? Nail my hand. Wait, nail in my hand. Why can't I remember this? It's because he's singing it so nail in my hand from. Oh yeah, nail in my hand from my creator. You gave me life now. Show me how to live. That song is so fucking hard. How are you supposed to sing that? Nail it in my hand from my creator. You gave me life now. Show me how to live. Show me how to. That song is just amazing. The guy has the lungs of a gorilla in his chest. This dude's got the lungs of a gorilla. I don't give a fucking flapjack squat about your hoot shit. Keep your dirty, disgusting, hoot-filled garbage to yourself. Cause I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. I'ma keep a hustling and giving zero hoots. It's good, sons. I got that. I get the cheddar, I get the bread. I get the cheddar, I get the bread. I get the cheddar, I get the bread. These are like castles made of sand. Oh, let me do that one more time. I'm sorry. Let me do that one more time. I was really nervous on that one. Can I do that one more time? Let me do that again. When 6 99. Hey, what on here, son? Jimi Hendrix, perhaps? Hendrix. Father of mine, tell me where have you been? If the sun refused to shine, I don't mind. I don't mind. If the mountains fell in the sea, let it be. It ain't me. Alright, I got my own world to look through, and I'm not going to copy you. Now, if a 6 turned out to be a 9, I don't mind. I don't mind. If all the hippies cut off their hair, I don't care. I don't care. Dig. Because I got my own world to live through, and I ain't going to copy you. And if those mountains, doom, 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 crumble to the sea, doom, 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 I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm not shit. I'm champagne. Idea. Shit, this song's fucking sick. I'm not shit. I'm champagne. Let's go. Let's all go home, kill ourselves. And already yells, where's my head? This isn't mine. Nobody loves a thing. Everybody is fucking crazy. It's in control. It's not my fault. They'll be sorry once I skin them. Scared to life. A painless death. Make sure she knows I love her right before she slips away. I can't hear you. Screams too loud. All my ideas become perfect little blind spots. Fold me in, tucked away. I'm starting to think I never learned what I need to learn. All things past. We boo scream. Holding on to things that we shouldn't be allowed to keep. Make them proud. Dredged in guilt. Call me the miracle produces to coincidence. Jesus Christ. Yikes. Wow, that's pretty tough. Never. Yeah, it's a lost cause. I gotta check the sub pump real quick. Hold on. He gets cheddar, he gets bread, he gets cheddar, he gets bread. He gets. I'm in the chat room. I'm in the secret chat room right now. Where's my ZHG crew? Where's the ZH? Wait a minute. Are there any hootless warriors out there? ZHG World Dominators? ZHG gang members? ZHG Hootless ones? The Hootless Warriors? I've been getting back into music. I stopped playing for 20 years. Worst decision ever. I still play my guitar and sing, but I don't listen to it anymore. It is being used as a weapon. The Pied Piper holds merit. Very powerful weapon against the youth. Look at this motherfuckers. I got four thumbs down. Go ahead and thumbs down me, you fucking stupid assholes. Thumbs down Dan. He's reading a 100-year-old yogi book that teaches the science of yoga, and he's just singing some karaoke. Thumbs down that asshole. He's stupid, petty pieces of shit. All right, well. What's up? What's going on? How you doing? I'm doing fine. What song? What song? Sing the song. Sing the song. I get the cheddar, I get the bread, I get the cheddar, I get the bread, I get the cheddar, I get the bread. I get the cheddar, I get the bread, I get the cheddar, I get the bread. Alright, I'll give that one a try. I haven't fucking sang this song in I don't know how long. It's been a long time. But I'm gonna give it a try, just to see how good my imitation skills are. Let us burn one from end to end and pass it over to me, my friend. Burn it long and we'll burn it slow to light me up before I go. And if you don't like my fire, then don't come around, 'cause I'm gonna burn one down. Yes, I'm gonna burn one down. My choice is what I choose to do, and if I'm causing no harm, it shouldn't bother you. Your choice is who you choose to be, and if you're causing no harm, then you're alright with me. If you don't like my fire, then don't come around, 'cause I'm gonna burn one down. Yes, I am gonna burn one down. Obviously, I like my exaggerated version better. And if you don't like my fire, then don't come around, 'cause I am gonna burn one down. Yes, I am gonna burn one down. Herb is the gift from the earth, and what's from the earth is of the greatest worth. So before you knock it, try it first. You'll see it's a blessing, and it's not a curse. So if you do not like my fire, then don't come around, 'cause I am gonna burn one down. Yes, I am gonna burn one down.